Well, come on then, Kenny, you're the teacher. You've overseen your pupils. Give us your assessment of the season.
I thought it was an exciting one on many fronts. Ultimately we were looking to always get out of the division. That's your first priority, but you want to then supplement that with cup runs if you can. There's many good reasons why cup runs can help you, and they are opportunities. And obviously though, at the start of the year, most clubs would say the same. Trying to get towards those top places and get into the championship has to be everybody's aim, and was ours. Unfortunately, we didn't quite make it. We're 3 points off second. 88 to 91. Very high points total though. If you're looking at 88 points at any season, it's hard to be too critical of your players. You're always then, as a manager, looking at where you possibly could make the difference. Charlton just finished above us by 1 goal, which is an amazing margin considering everything and that we go through during the course of the season. But I am a big believer as well that I think you finish where you should. I do believe that, and of course there's a little bit of fluctuation in luck and the way things go, injuries, etc. But I do feel that's part of it, and the unpredictability is what you have to overcome as a manager and as a club. So we finished where we deserved to finish. I do feel that, but similarly, for the players, 88 points is a good effort. Not quite good enough in other years. May have been enough. And then ultimately, then in the playoffs, I do think we limped over the line slightly. If you're looking at the last 5 games, okay, 3 of them were against Sunderland, but the last 5 games we didn't win a game, and we didn't take the lead. And then even looking back, the Coventry game, we came back, and a big feature of our first half of the season anyway was the fact that we got the first goal in a game. Stats of scoring first and winning is high. It's not obviously 100%. Comebacks do happen, but generally over the course of the season, if you can score first on a regular basis, you will win more than you'll lose. And our feature early in the season, even if we hadn't necessarily dominated, we were ruthless enough, good enough on the counter attack to be able to score first, and that put us in a good position to go and manage the game and take the points. But as I said, in that little mini spell, that 5-game spell, stroke 6, then going into Coventry, we didn't score the first goal, and that made us sort of just finish as a group that looked like we just lacked a little bit of energy, unfortunately. But as I said, as an overall, the most important thing now is how we build on last year. Anyway, do we come back stronger, and do we come back competing again? And the answer to those 2 questions must be yes.
5 more wins than last season, 16 more goals scored, 5 less conceded, 4 places up in position. So it's progress. It is progress. We're obviously close to the big prize, and it's frustrating not getting there. We know that, and the clubs had obviously the administration, the 4 years in League Two now 2 years in League One at 8th and 4th spot, and we want to keep going. We want to keep fighting at the top of this league. We want to try to get into the championship if we can, and as you say, we want to remain consistent, keep competing and keep progressing. In terms of goals scored, we finished 2nd to Luton, which is very good. Real even spread around as well, which is good. Many different scorers, and also I did think we were capable of the goals against Colin being better. And if you look at our players, our keeper came in, did very well. It's hard to necessarily single out a reason why, other than the fact that we did sort of drive forward and drive a lot of men forward, going off that first ball to try to get more goals. But as I said, if there's anything that I look at and could we have improved with the defenders we've got, goals against Colin. But as I said, there's many games where we chased it and went for it and scored enough to win as well. You drew 13 games, 5 of them out of 8. Is that too many for you? In terms of 88 points and then breaking that down of where we went, for me it's goals scored and goals against. That's a big thing, looking at those columns and how they're comprised. Individual scorers for us, positional against us, set piece against us. That's how I break it down in terms of the league table. So
you know, if you offered me 88 points for next year, you know, it's a high total to get, and you know, you do feel that, you know, perhaps being picky to try to turn a few more of those draws into wins would be fantastic. Yes, you know, certainly those end games anyway, you know, for us to just have, you know, a little bit more thrust in those games and cutting edge.
Now, if Bogle scores a penalty against Barnsley, or if we don't throw away a 3-goal lead at Southend, things would have changed dramatically. Is it too black and white to say that?
You know, you do look at those things, because when they become fine margins like that, you know that those bits and pieces are the, you know, the difference between sort of 88 to 91, which is where we were to second spot. But similarly, there'll be other situations where maybe we've got away with it. You know, the Burton goal with Matt Clark, which got us 3 points, and you know, there's always different situations. As I said, I believe anyway that you finish where you deserve, and for us, it's a big effort by the players, good consistency. We were very, very hard to beat. We competed all of the time very well. If anybody beat us or drew with us, they didn't do it easily. They had to work very, very hard to do that. So, you know, they're basics that you want to build off, and they're basics that we had, and they're basics that we're going to need going forward. You do always, though, look at those, you know, those defining moments. But as I said, as an overall, you know, for the players, it's hard to be critical.
I remember you had concerns even after the first game against Luton. Did you ever iron them out to your total satisfaction as the season went on?
I felt that, you know, we started 4-4-2 with Ronan Curtis coming in, going up front. You know, as a new player, he quickly then went out onto the left-hand side and settled there. He's a player that, you know, coming in, had played wide left in a 4-3-3, similar to ourselves, but I'd sort of always wanted to and been a centre forward in his younger days. But similarly then, you know, it didn't quite work back to goal, I didn't think, and we settled into a 4-2-3-1 pattern really, with Ronan on the left. And it was a very good pattern and a successful pattern. And anyway, in terms of my successful teams, you know, it has been 4-2-3-1. That's where we've done it. And you know, we had obviously long spells, and for the majority of the time, playing that way, as you say, in the Luton game with, you know, the second forward and then 4 across the middle with. During that particular game, anyway, Anton Walks and Brandon Houndstrup being part of that midfield 4, we just didn't quite have. You know, I didn't think quite enough control, and after that changed. Having said that, you know, Luton were good on that day, and they replicated that all the way through, and have, you know, obviously finished champions.
Curtis was a revelation. You mentioned him. Did he start too well, and was the expectations about him, was the bar raised too high too early? I
think it's something that you have to handle if you're going to be a good player. First time round, everybody, you know, didn't know him, and you know, he surprised maybe the whole division and knew him, and then it was slightly different second time round. But similarly, if you're a good player and if you're in a good side, you can overcome that. And Curtis overcame that for quite a while. He lost his rhythm, and I did feel that, you know, for Jamal Lowe and for Curtis, they both, you know, were such a threat for us, and ran so much and were so explosive just towards the end. You know, I don't want to be critical of them, but they did both at different times then just run out of steam slightly, and it wasn't through any attitude or desire. You know, it just, that spark wasn't always there, and you know, it's hard to replicate that through, let's say, 62 games. But you know, for Curtis anyway, it's a very, very good debut season, I feel, over here after coming, you know, into England from the Irish League, and only is now something he can build on and improve.
A dip came in January. It seemed to coincide with Ben Thompson going back to Millwall. How big a blow was that, and the loss of Andre Green as well?
Yeah, and during that period, if you're looking at Nathan Thompson, which, you know, things like that do happen. You know, our win rate with and without Nathan is something that, you know, has to be looked at, definitely, and you know, quite a key person. I was going to say he's underrated there, but he's not by everybody inside the club, and I think very popular with the supporters as well. You know, and had a very good season. But yes, you know, we found a style and a way of playing, and Ben Thompson was key to that. Yeah. You know, you're playing regularly, and you know, we were set up, and when he left, we had to just then sort of find a different way. His moments weren't quite, you know, the same as other people's, but he had key moments that perhaps put us in pole position, and then we were good at holding on to leads, and then at the right time extending them. I.e., Fleetwood, was a prime example where there was a very tight opening, and they put a lot of pressure on us up there. Ben's got a great goal, in off the bar away at Fleetwood there, and again they've put pressure on us, and late in the game we've countered and scored another 3 and ended up winning 5, and yet they'd be scratching their heads at how they sort of got beat by that margin, and he set that up. So we had to find a way after he left. We did. I thought that Ben Close, after a quiet first half of the season through no fault of his own, just another good partnership in midfield, he found some vital goals and some excellent form, I think, and really improved as the second half of the season come on. But yeah, we did miss Ben Thompson. We missed during that period through injury Nathan Thompson. Andre Green, through his time here was more sort of an impact sub by the time he come back from his injury, which was very unfortunate and took away really the majority of his loan. But he was an impact sub, or played a key role in some of the cup games for which ultimately we were successful. The most memorable one, obviously, coming on at Norwich and getting the winner.
Do you feel your January sort of loans worked out less than your ones earlier in the season?
I think for Omar Bogle, he got some key goals, early on. Fratton Park, was good for him in terms of his performance. A fantastic goal at Walsall that got our noses in front. So that period he got some key goals. Suffered a hamstring injury, and then at the end a groin injury, and showed, I think, flashes of terrific potential, as did Viv Solomon Otterball, again mixed in with niggly injuries. But if you're looking at the outstanding sort of loan of the season, it was Ben Thompson, definitely, and loans were really brought in, and as a policy to supplement the full-time players. That was the case, and I would suggest Ben was the only one that really cracked it in terms of a regular place, although probably Omar Bogle threatened to.
Did 62 games take its toll in the end?
Maybe, if I'm looking at the last 5, and as I said, ultimately then the last 6, where did we score the first goal? No, and I don't think we had too many spells where we went that long without going in front. And even sometimes then when you do go in front, you can get pegged back, but most of the time you find a way of earning the 3 points, and that was the case. But we did look a little bit jaded towards the end, but I don't like to make excuses. And as I said, ultimately you finish where you should.
Matt Clark swept all the trophies for Player of the Season. You must be braced for offers to come in for him. How do you look to progress but have to get rid of your best players at the same time?
I don't think we're getting rid of any players. If all the players we have now are contracted, and there's a lot of speculation. No bids yet, by the way, but there is speculation definitely now. Whether they turn into bids or not is one thing. People are telling me that it will. And then when those bids come in, as a club, we'll do it. But the players that we're talking about are under contract, so we won't be getting rid of our best players. We will be, if it comes to that, negotiating good fees that we can use at strengthening the team. Every side has to evolve. Every team has to move on. But similarly, we don't want to be jumping the gun either. We're not going to. There's nothing we're going to initiate, and if bids come in for our players, we'll deal with it then. But if they do, and as you say, there is a lot of speculation, it'll be us working towards coming out stronger next year and trying to improve, trying to go up. There's nothing else in terms of us inside the club. We'll be doing this summer.
Yeah, getting rid is not a very good description. But some offers are too tempting to turn down, aren't they?
Yeah, and the nature of football is that teams get picked off, and that happens everywhere. And there is, from one season to the next, there's a turnover of players. It's not something that we would invite though with our better players, and we do want to try to base it around it. Similarly, if bids come in at a certain level, we have to be realistic. But again, with us, we've contracted to those players, so we're in a good position, and we'll be working then flat out to try to make the group as a whole and the team as a whole stronger if possible.
What's the extra ingredient you feel you need to get over the line next time?
Yeah, you could look at our loans, our supplement of our squad, but they have, covered us for injuries. That's been the case at sort of vital times, and then in terms of, does that take away, playing time and opportunities for young players? But you also need to get results. That's just one of the things that, in terms of management, you have to get right, and we'll have to get right again next summer. I would suggest though that for the majority it's more of the same, and we have to continue to try to be as consistent as we can as a club. Learn, where we are, and see if we can get from where we are up to sort of 2 points a game, somewhere like that, to try to crack it, or ultimately then be more successful in the playoffs. That has to be the case next season.
If you were back in August now, would you do anything differently to the way you've done it?
Yeah, you're always looking at the setup of the squad, the signings, as you say, the use of the loans, the supplement situation, the fact that they give you cover, and when the window's closing, competition as well. Hopefully drive the other players on, improve the standards of the training. But I don't think that I wouldn't take away the Checkatrade at Wembley, the journey there. I wouldn't take away trying to win the cup games and have that run that we did, because when you turn up on that day, whatever team you put out, you want to organise it and have a desire to win. So you are always, though, as a manager in a recruitment team, yes, looking at signings, maximising signings, and learning from where you think you can improve one season to the next.
Yeah, and you've ended up with a trophy, which many clubs haven't.
No, it's true, and it was a great run and a great individual day, very very unique day with the two clubs there, the size of the crowd, and it was a great day as well. And it always was, what it is it was a good cup run and ultimately a successful one. And I wouldn't necessarily take that away, but obviously always the big prize is trying to get Portsmouth in the Championship.
So good season, or could have done better, or somewhere in between? Yeah,
I think always could have done better. I think you always have to look at that, but we can't be too critical and say we were too far off. But yes, ultimately, to try to get into that top two, or be better once we get to the playoffs to be able to win them. They're the things in terms of improving that we need to learn from and try to do better next year.
Kenny, we appreciate your time.
Thanks, John. Well done. Thanks very much.